If you are still watching right now, there is a reason you did not scroll. There is something in your life that feels delayed, taken, or made silent without explanation. Something you keep thinking about when the world goes quiet. This is not here to comfort you. It is here to explain you. Because near the end of this, you are going to hear the reason why the thing you thought was being removed was actually being prepared. And once you see that, you will never look at your struggle the same way again. So do not treat this like another video. Stay until the last minutes. That is where this finally makes sense. Your struggle is known before it is felt by the world. There are pains that announce themselves. They show on the face. They spill into conversations. They ask for attention. And then there are pains that live deep inside where no one ever visits. These are the struggles that do not look dramatic. They do not demand sympathy. They simply sit in the chest and grow heavier with time. This is the kind of struggle Allah sees most clearly. Before anyone notices a change in behavior, before anyone senses distance in the voice, before anyone realizes something has shifted in the heart, Allah already knows. Every time the heart feels tired for no visible reason, every time motivation disappears without explanation, every time the soul feels like it is walking through something unseen, these moments are not random. They are not unnoticed. They are recorded with care. Allah is aware of the weight behind every silent choice to keep going, the effort behind every moment of self-control, the restraint behind every emotion that is held instead of released. The struggle is not invisible, it is private. And what is private with Allah is never small. The quiet you are living in is not emptiness, it is preparation. There are seasons when life becomes loud, full of movement, full of people, full of signs of progress. And then there are seasons when everything slows down. Less connection, less excitement, less certainty. This quiet can feel like being left behind. Like standing in a place where nothing is happening while everyone else seems to move forward. But in the path of faith, quiet is not a pause. Quiet is a workshop. This is where Allah removes what distracts before. He reveals what matters. This is where He takes away noise so the heart can finally hear. In this space, the soul begins to notice what it has been leaning on besides Allah. The mind begins to see which desires were guiding decisions. The heart begins to recognize which attachments were shaping its direction. The quiet is not meant to make a person feel small. It is meant to make a person clear. What feels like isolation is often refinement. What feels like stillness is often construction. What feels like nothing is happening is often the deepest work being done. The delay is not against you, it is working on you. It is easy to believe that progress means speed. That answers should come quickly. That change should happen when effort is made. But Allah does not measure growth the way the world does. He is not only building a future moment, He is shaping a future person. Every delay carries a lesson. Every unanswered question carries a shift in perspective. Every long wait carries a quiet transformation. The heart learns how to hold faith without immediate results. The mind learns how to remain steady without full understanding. The soul learns how to trust without visible proof. This is not about testing patience. This is about creating depth. A fast reward can be enjoyed. A slow reward becomes part of who a person is. What was taken was not always what was lost. There are moments in life when something leaves and the heart feels like it has been torn open. It can be a person who once felt like part of your daily world. It can be a plan you carried quietly for years. It can be a dream that gave you energy when everything else felt heavy. When it goes, it does not just leave an empty space in your life, it leaves an empty space inside you. In those moments, the first feeling is not understanding, it is shock, it is confusion, it is the deep question of why something that felt so important was allowed to slip away. The mind begins to replay memories, the heart begins to search for mistakes, the soul begins to wonder if something was done wrong. It feels like loss, because something meaningful is no longer there, and that feeling is real, the pain is real, the emptiness is real. But there is another layer that is often hidden in the beginning. Allah does not remove something from a life without seeing where it was leading. He does not close a door without knowing what was on the other side. He does not allow something to leave without understanding how it was shaping the heart. Some things enter life as gifts. They bring happiness, they bring comfort, they bring excitement. But over time, they can slowly begin to take a place they were never meant to hold. A person can start as a source of support and slowly become the main source of peace. A plan can start as a hopeful direction and slowly become the measure of self-worth. A dream can start as inspiration and slowly become the center of identity. When this happens, something quiet changes inside. The heart begins to lean more on what is seen than on what is believed. The mind begins to trust more in what can be controlled than in the one who controls everything. The soul begins to attach itself to what can be lost instead of what is lasting. This shift does not happen in a dramatic way. It happens slowly. It happens in small moments. It happens in the way the heart reacts when something is threatened. It happens in the way peace disappears when something feels uncertain. Allah sees this change even when the person does not. What feels like something being taken away can actually be something being saved. Saved from becoming a burden, saved from becoming a chain, saved from becoming something that quietly pulls the heart away from its true center. This is why removal often feels sudden, because the heart was not ready for it, even if it needed it. When something leaves, the first reaction is to look at what is missing, the empty space, the silence, the absence, the life that no longer looks the same. But over time, something else becomes visible. The space that was created allows the heart to breathe again. The silence allows the mind to hear itself. The absence allows the soul to remember what it was leaning on before. In this space, questions begin to rise, not just about what was lost, but about what was being held too tightly. What was this thing giving that felt so necessary? Was it comfort? Was it purpose? Was it belonging? Was it a sense of being valued? These needs are real. The desire for them is not wrong, but where they are placed matters deeply. When they are placed in people, they become fragile. When they are placed in plans, they become uncertain. When they are placed in dreams, they become vulnerable to change. Allah's removal is not about denying these needs, it is about redirecting them. It is about teaching the heart that peace does not come from something that can leave. It comes from the one who never does. This lesson is not learned quickly. At first, the heart resists. It wants what was familiar. It wants what felt safe. It wants what gave comfort, even if that comfort had quietly turned into dependence. There is a kind of pain that comes from missing something, and there is another kind of pain that comes from realizing how much power that thing had over the heart. This realization can feel uncomfortable. It can feel humbling. It can feel like seeing oneself in a way that is not always easy. But it is also freeing, because when something no longer holds that power, the heart becomes lighter. It becomes less controlled by what can change. It becomes more anchored in what does not. Over time, the memory of what was lost begins to change. It no longer only represents pain. It begins to represent a turning point. A moment where the direction of the soul shifted. A moment where the heart was invited back to its true center. A moment where faith was asked to move from the background to the front. This does not mean the person or the plan or the dream was bad. It means it was never meant to carry the weight of being the foundation of life. Foundations are meant to be strong. They are meant to hold everything else up. People, plans, and dreams can add beauty to life. They can give meaning to days. They can bring joy and direction. But they were never meant to be the thing that holds the soul steady. Only Allah is meant to be that. This understanding often comes slowly through reflection rather than relief. There may still be moments of missing what was. There may still be days when the heart feels the absence sharply. There may still be questions that do not fully settle. But alongside these feelings, something new begins to grow. a quieter kind of trust, a deeper kind of reliance, a stronger kind of connection. The heart begins to turn to Allah not only in moments of need, but in moments of calm. Not only when something is wrong, but when things are simply quiet. This is one of the hidden gifts of removal. It creates a space where faith is no longer an emergency response. It becomes a constant presence. The struggle of losing something often becomes the doorway to gaining something more lasting. Not a replacement in the same form, but a strength in a deeper place. Not something that can be held in the hands, but something that settles in the heart. This is why what was taken was not always what was lost. Sometimes what was truly lost was the illusion that something temporary could hold what only the eternal was meant to carry. And what is gained is a heart that knows where its true safety, peace, and purpose live. Being set apart is a form of being chosen. There are seasons in life when everything feels heavier than it should. The same days, the same responsibilities, the same surroundings. Yet the heart feels tired in a way that rest does not fix. The mind feels crowded in a way silence does not clear. The soul feels stretched in a way comfort does not heal. This kind of weight is not always caused by what is happening around you. Sometimes it comes from what is being built within you. Allah does not shape strength in moments of ease. He shapes it in moments of pressure. Just as a muscle grows when it is challenged, the inner self grows when it is asked to carry more than it feels ready for. This does not mean the pain is imagined. It does not mean the struggle is small. The difficulty is real. The fatigue is real. The desire for relief is real. But alongside this reality, something else is happening quietly. Every time you keep going when it would be easier to stop, something inside you becomes firmer. Every time you hold your character when emotions want to break it, something inside you becomes steadier. Every time you choose patience over reaction, something inside you becomes stronger. This strength does not announce itself. It does not feel powerful while it is forming. It often feels like weakness. It feels like being worn down. It feels like being tested beyond what seems fair. But over time, the heart begins to notice a change. Things that once felt overwhelming begin to feel manageable. Words that once cut deeply begin to lose their power. Situations that once caused fear begin to feel less controlling. This is not because life has become easier. It is because you have become stronger. The weight you carry is not meant to crush you. It is meant to shape how you stand. There is a kind of strength that comes from success, and there is a deeper kind of strength that comes from endurance. Success can make a person confident. Endurance makes a person grounded. Allah often values the second more than the first. Endurance teaches the heart how to remain steady without being praised. It teaches the soul how to remain faithful without being seen. It teaches the mind how to remain clear without being rewarded right away. This kind of strength does not depend on circumstances. It lives inside. There are moments when you may look at others and wonder why their lives seem lighter, why their paths seem smoother, why their struggles seem smaller. But every soul is being shaped for a different kind of journey. Some are being prepared for leadership, some for guidance, some for influence, some for quiet impact that may never be widely known but will be deeply felt by the people it touches. The weight you carry often reflects the kind of role your soul is being trained for. This does not mean you are better than others. It means you are being shaped differently. Allah knows what kind of heart is needed for the path ahead. He knows what level of patience, clarity, and resilience will be required. So He allows situations that stretch you before you ever reach the place where that strength will be needed. This preparation does not always feel kind. It feels demanding. It feels relentless. It feels like being asked to give more than you have. But this is where a quiet realization begins to form. You often discover that you have more than you thought. Not because you suddenly became powerful, but because you learned where to draw your strength from. In moments when your own energy runs low, reliance on Allah becomes deeper. In moments when your own understanding feels limited, trust becomes wider. In moments when your own control fades, surrender becomes stronger. This is not weakness. This is a different kind of power. It is the power of not being alone in what you carry. The heart begins to shift from asking, why is this so heavy? to asking, what is this teaching me to become? This shift does not remove the weight, but it changes how it is held. Instead of being something that only drains, it becomes something that builds. Instead of being something that only hurts, it becomes something that shapes. Over time, the struggle becomes part of your story, not as a sign of what broke you, but as proof of what formed you. You may not notice this change while it is happening. You may still feel tired. You may still feel uncertain. You may still wish for lighter days. But one day, you will stand in a moment that would have once felt impossible. You will respond with calm where you would have once panicked. You will choose patience where you would have once reacted. You will trust where you would have once doubted. And in that moment, you will realize that the weight you carried was not wasted. It was preparing you to stand in places that require a steady heart. There is also a quiet humility that comes with this kind of strength. You stop judging others as easily because you know how heavy unseen battles can be. You stop assuming things are simple because you know how complex the inner world can be. This awareness softens you without weakening you. It makes you firm without making you hard. This balance is rare, and it is often born from struggle rather than comfort. The strength Allah shapes in you is not meant to make you distant from others. It is meant to make you deeper with them. It allows you to understand pain without being consumed by it, to witness difficulty without being overwhelmed by it, to offer presence without needing to fix everything. This is a form of strength that does not seek attention. It simply stands. So when the days feel heavy and the heart feels tired, remember that this weight is not only something you are carrying, it is something that is carrying you toward who you are becoming. Not just a person who survives difficulty, but a person who can hold others through it. Not just a soul that endures, but a soul that understands. And in that understanding, there is a quiet power that cannot be easily shaken. The heart is being taught where safety truly lives. When life is comfortable, safety feels like it comes from stability, from people staying, from plans working, from routines continuing. But when these things shift, something deeper is revealed. Safety was never in what could change, it was in the one who never does. This is when faith moves from being a belief to being a refuge, from being something known to being something held. In the absence of control, reliance grows. In the absence of certainty, trust deepens. In the absence of answers, connection strengthens. The quiet struggle becomes a place where the heart learns what it truly rests on. Every hidden effort is being counted. There are many parts of life that the world never sees. The quiet decisions, the private battles, the moments where you stand at a crossroads inside your heart and no one else knows which direction you choose. These are the moments that shape who you truly are. On the outside, life may look simple, a routine, a face that seems calm, words that sound steady, but inside there can be a storm that no one hears, doubts that rise without warning, fears that return even after you thought they were gone, temptations that pull at you when you are tired and vulnerable. The world measures effort by what can be seen, by results, by achievements, by visible success, but Allah measures something much deeper. He measures the struggle before the action. He measures the moment when you want to react, but you choose restraint. The moment when you want to give up, but you choose to continue. The moment when you feel distant, but you still turn your heart back toward Him. These moments do not leave marks on the outside, but they leave traces on the soul. There are nights when the mind feels heavy with thoughts that will not settle. You lie awake, replaying conversations, replaying mistakes, replaying fears about what is coming next. In those moments, the effort to calm your heart, to remember Allah, to trust instead of spiral, is a form of worship that no one else witnesses. There are days when motivation disappears, when prayer feels harder than usual, when faith feels quiet instead of strong. In those moments, simply showing up, simply trying, simply refusing to walk away is a kind of strength that is often invisible to others but never invisible to Allah. Every choice carries a weight. The choice to stay kind when you feel hurt. The choice to stay honest when a shortcut would be easier. The choice to stay patient when anger feels justified. The choice to stay hopeful when the future feels uncertain. These are not small choices. They are the building blocks of character. You may not see the results of these choices right away. There may be no immediate change in your situation, no sudden relief, no visible reward, but something is happening quietly inside you. Each time you choose what is right over what is easy, the heart becomes a little stronger. Each time you choose trust over control, the soul becomes a little steadier. Each time you choose faith over fear, the mind becomes a little clearer. This is how inner growth happens. Not in big dramatic moments, but in small repeated decisions that shape who you become over time. There is a kind of effort that feels ordinary while it is happening. You wake up, you go through your day, you carry your responsibilities, you manage your emotions. You try to stay aligned with what you believe is right. From the outside, it looks like nothing special. But Allah sees the weight behind each of these actions. He sees the tired heart that still tries to be gentle. He sees the confused mind that still tries to be sincere. He sees the strained soul that still tries to stay connected. This kind of effort is not wasted. Sometimes you may wonder if it matters, if the quiet struggle makes any difference, if the small acts of self-control, patience and sincerity truly count for anything. But imagine how a river is formed, not by one powerful wave, but by countless drops of water moving in the same direction over time. In the same way, your character is formed by countless small choices that slowly shape the flow of your life. There is also a deeper comfort in knowing that Allah counts what others overlook. The world may not praise your restraint, it may not notice your discipline, it may not understand your reasons for choosing a harder path, but Allah does. He knows the intention behind your actions. He knows the effort behind your silence. He knows the struggle behind your consistency. This awareness changes how you move through life. You stop doing things only for recognition. You stop measuring your worth by how others respond. You stop needing constant validation to keep going. Instead, you begin to find strength in knowing that your efforts have meaning beyond what can be seen. There is a quiet dignity in living this way. It allows you to walk with less bitterness even when you feel misunderstood. It allows you to carry less resentment even when you feel unappreciated. It allows you to keep giving your best even when there is no immediate return, because the purpose of your effort is no longer tied only to the outcome. It is tied to who you are becoming in the process. Over time, this changes how you see yourself. You begin to trust your own growth. You begin to recognize your own resilience. You begin to see that you are not the same person you were before these struggles began. You may still face difficulties. You may still feel tired. You may still have moments of doubt. But you also carry a deeper sense of steadiness. A sense that you can endure without losing yourself. A sense that you can face uncertainty without falling apart. A sense that you can walk through silence without feeling empty. This is the result of all the hidden efforts that have been shaping you along the way. One day, you may look back at a period of your life that felt especially heavy, a time when nothing seemed to change and no one seemed to notice how hard you were trying. And you will realize that this was not a wasted season. It was a season where your inner world was being strengthened, where your values were being clarified, where your connection with Allah was being deepened in ways that comfort alone could never achieve. The reward for these hidden efforts is not only something that comes later, it is something that begins to appear within you. In the way you respond instead of react, in the way you trust instead of panic, in the way you remain kind instead of becoming hard. This is the quiet transformation that happens when every unseen effort is being counted. So when you feel like no one notices how much you are carrying, remember this. The most important witness is not missing a single moment. Every step you take in patience, every breath you take in trust, every choice you make in sincerity, all of it is known, all of it matters. All of it is shaping a version of you that is stronger, clearer, and closer to where you are meant to be. The real change happens before life looks different. There is a natural way the heart looks at struggle. It waits for something on the outside to shift, a new situation, a new answer, a new door, a new beginning. It feels like peace will arrive when the problem is solved, when the path becomes clear, when the weight finally lifts. But often Allah works in a different order. Before the world around you changes, something within you begins to move. This inner movement is quiet. It does not announce itself. It does not come with a clear moment where you can say, this is when everything became different. It happens slowly in the background while you are still living the same days, facing the same challenges, and walking the same path. At first, it feels like nothing is happening. The situation looks the same. The difficulty remains. The uncertainty continues. But inside, something begins to soften. The heart that once panicked now pauses. The mind that once rushed now reflects. The soul that once resisted now leans. This is not a dramatic change, it is a deep one. Many people believe that strength shows itself when circumstances improve, but there is a quieter kind of strength that shows itself when circumstances stay the same, and yet the heart responds differently. This is the kind of change Allah often brings first. You may notice that things that once caused intense worry now create less noise inside you. Problems that once consumed your thoughts now pass through your mind without staying there as long. Words that once felt heavy now land more lightly. This does not mean you no longer care. It means you are learning how to care without being controlled. This is an important shift. When the heart is controlled by circumstances, every change outside creates a storm inside. But when the heart becomes anchored, the outside can move without shaking the inside as much. This anchoring does not come from having all the answers. It comes from knowing where your trust rests. There is a moment in this process where you begin to realize that you are not reacting the same way you used to. Where you once rushed to fix everything, you now allow space for things to unfold. Where you once felt the need to explain yourself, you now feel less pressure to be understood. Where you once felt the urge to hold tightly, you now find it easier to let go. These shifts can feel strange at first, almost uncomfortable. The old version of you might have found identity in effort, in control, in emotional intensity. Letting go of these patterns can feel like losing a part of yourself, but what is actually happening is not loss, it is refinement. Allah is shaping a heart that can move through life without being pulled apart by it. This kind of change is not always celebrated. It does not always look impressive. From the outside, your life may appear the same. But on the inside, something important has shifted. You are no longer only trying to survive each moment. You are learning how to remain steady within it. This is often when the struggle takes on a new meaning. The difficulty no longer feels like a punishment. It begins to feel like a training ground. The waiting no longer feels like being ignored. It begins to feel like being prepared. The silence no longer feels empty. It begins to feel like a space where clarity grows. This does not mean the pain disappears. It means the pain stops being the center of everything. The heart begins to make room for trust alongside discomfort. The mind begins to hold hope alongside uncertainty. The soul begins to find peace alongside effort. This is a powerful balance. It allows you to walk forward without needing everything to be perfect. It allows you to keep moving even when the path is not fully visible. There is also a quiet humility that comes with this inner change. You begin to see how much of your life is not truly in your control, how many things unfold in ways you did not plan, how many outcomes arrive through paths you did not expect. This awareness does not make you passive, it makes you grounded. You still work. You still try, you still care, but you no longer carry the full weight of making everything happen on your own. This is where surrender and effort meet. You do what you can and you trust what you cannot. This shift can feel like a release, not from responsibility, but from pressure. The pressure to be perfect, the pressure to have everything figured out, the pressure to move faster than you are ready. In this space, the heart begins to breathe differently. You may still want things to change. You may still hope for a new chapter. But the waiting no longer feels as heavy because it is no longer empty. It is filled with growth. There is a kind of wisdom that comes from this stage of the journey. You start to recognize patterns in yourself. The way you react under stress. The way you hold on to certain thoughts. The way you seek comfort in certain places. This awareness is not meant to make you critical of yourself. It is meant to make you clear. Clarity is one of the quiet gifts of inner change. It allows you to choose more intentionally, to respond more thoughtfully, to move through life with less confusion about what truly matters to you. Over time, this clarity begins to shape your decisions. You become more selective about what you give your energy to. You become more careful about what you allow into your heart. You become more aware of what pulls you closer to Allah and what quietly pulls you away. This is how growth becomes practical, not just emotional. It shows up in the way you spend your time, in the way you treat others, in the way you speak to yourself. You may notice that you are less drawn to noise and more drawn to meaning, less interested in appearance and more interested in substance, less focused on being seen and more focused on being sincere. These are not changes that happen overnight. They happen slowly through repeated moments of reflection, effort, and return. And often, by the time the world around you finally does change, you realize that the biggest change has already happened. You are not stepping into the new chapter as the same person who entered the struggle. You are stepping into it with a steadier heart, a clearer mind, a deeper sense of where your strength comes from. This is why Allah often begins with the inside, because a new situation without inner growth can become another source of confusion. A new opportunity without inner clarity can become another form of distraction. A new chapter without inner grounding can become another test of the same lessons. But when the heart is prepared, what comes next can be carried differently, with less fear, with less urgency, with more trust. So, if you are in a place where nothing seems to be changing yet, consider this. Look at how you are changing. Look at how you handle difficulty compared to before. Look at how you speak to yourself in moments of failure. Look at how you turn back to Allah when you feel distant. These are signs of a deeper movement. The real change does not always arrive with a new scene. Sometimes it arrives with a new way of seeing the same one. And when that happens, even the waiting becomes part of the reward, because you are no longer just waiting for life to look different. You are becoming different within it. Your story is being written with intention, not accident. Nothing in this path is random. The timing of events, the meeting of people, the closing of doors, the opening of new ones, even the moments that feel confusing are placed with purpose. The quiet struggle is not a mistake in the story. It is part of the foundation. It gives meaning to what comes later, weight to what is achieved, depth to what is received. Without this part, the next chapter would not hold the same strength. Trust is the strength that turns struggle into growth. There comes a point in every long struggle where the heart becomes tired of fighting. Not just tired of the situation, but tired of carrying the weight of trying to control everything. Tired of searching for answers that do not come quickly. Tired of holding fear about what might happen next. This is often where trust begins. Trust does not arrive as a sudden feeling of comfort. It arrives as a quiet decision. A decision to stop carrying the entire future alone. A decision to place what cannot be managed into the hands of the one who sees beyond what you can see. At first, this decision can feel uncomfortable. The mind is used to planning, predicting, and preparing. The heart is used to holding tightly to what feels important. Letting go of this control can feel like stepping into something unknown. But what is actually happening is not losing control. It is choosing where control truly belongs. Trust does not mean you stop caring. It does not mean you stop trying. It means you change the place where your sense of safety comes from. Instead of finding safety in having everything go according to your plans, you begin to find safety in knowing that Allah's plan continues even when yours does not. This shift can be small at first. You notice that when something goes wrong, you do not immediately fall apart. You still feel the disappointment, but it does not consume you the way it once did. You still feel the uncertainty, but it does not paralyze you. You begin to carry your worries differently. Rather than holding them tightly in your chest, you place them in prayer. Rather than replaying them endlessly in your mind, you release them into remembrance. Rather than trying to solve everything at once, you focus on taking the next right step. This does not remove the struggle. It changes how heavy it feels. Trust acts like a bridge between where you are and where you hope to be. Without it, every step feels dangerous because you are relying only on what you can see. With it, you move forward even when the path is unclear because you believe there is something solid beneath you even if you cannot see it. There is a deep kind of peace that grows from this belief. It is not the peace of having no problems, it is the peace of knowing you are not alone in facing them. This peace allows the heart to rest even while the hands continue to work. It allows the mind to slow down even while decisions still need to be made. It allows the soul to breathe even while the journey is not finished. Over time, trust begins to change how you view your past. You start to see moments that once felt like mistakes as lessons. You start to see delays that once felt like rejection as redirection. You start to see losses that once felt like endings as turning points. This does not erase the pain that came with them, but it gives that pain a place in a larger story. A story that is not only about what happened to you, but about what was shaped within you because of it. Trust also changes how you look at others. When you trust Allah more deeply, you rely less on people to carry the weight of your expectations. You still value them, you still care for them, you still appreciate their presence, but you no longer place them in a position they were never meant to hold. This brings a quiet freedom into relationships. You become less fearful of losing people because your sense of safety is no longer fully tied to them. You become less desperate for approval because your sense of worth is no longer fully dependent on being accepted. This does not make you distant, it makes you balanced. You can love without clinging. You can give without emptying yourself. You can stay without losing who you are. Trust also changes how you look at the future. Instead of seeing it as a long list of things that must go right, you begin to see it as a space where Allah's wisdom will continue to unfold. You still make plans, you still set goals, you still work toward what matters to you, but you hold these plans with open hands instead of tight fists. This openness creates room for something greater than what you originally imagined. Many people discover that the life they end up living is not the one they once designed, but it is often the one that fits them more deeply. This is one of the quiet rewards of trust. It allows you to be guided instead of only driven, to be led instead of only pushing forward. There is also a strength that comes from knowing that even if things do not turn out the way you hope, you will not be left without support. This knowledge does not make you careless, it makes you courageous. You become more willing to try because failure is no longer the end of everything. You become more willing to grow because discomfort is no longer something you must avoid at all costs. You begin to see life as a journey where every step, even the difficult ones, can carry meaning. As this perspective deepens, the struggle itself begins to feel different. It no longer feels like a sign that something is wrong with you. It begins to feel like part of how you are being shaped. You still want relief, you still hope for ease, but you no longer see hardship as proof of abandonment. You see it as part of a relationship. A relationship where you are being guided, not ignored, watched, not forgotten, held, even when you feel uncertain. This does not remove every fear. It does not answer every question. But it gives the heart something steady to hold on to when answers are slow and paths are unclear. And this steadiness is what allows peace to grow even in the middle of struggle. Not the peace of everything being solved, but the peace of knowing you are walking with the one who sees the entire road. This is what trust becomes, not just a belief you carry in calm moments, but a bridge you walk across in difficult ones. A bridge that does not promise an easy journey, but promises that you will not have to cross it alone. If you made it to this moment, understand something quietly. You did not just listen to a message. You walked through a season of yourself. The struggle you carried into this hour is not the same struggle you are carrying out of it, because now it has a meaning, and meaning changes weight. What once felt like delay now carries direction. What once felt like loss now carries protection. What once felt like silence now carries attention. You may not see what is being prepared yet. You may not feel the reward yet. You may not understand the full design yet. But you now know this: you are not being ignored. You are being shaped. So when you return to your life after this ends, do not rush back into noise. Do not rush back into distraction. Carry this awareness with you. Every quiet moment is still a conversation. Every heavy day is still a lesson. Every step forward is still being seen. And one day, without warning, you will stand in a place you once prayed to reach. You will look back at this season and you will realize this was not the time you were breaking. This was the time you were becoming.